For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first hearing of a 2-year session, and I want to be very clear to the American people what I believe that the majority, the Republicans in this committee and in Congress will do over the next 2 years. They will attempt to rewrite history. They will attempt to absolve themselves of any of the decisions they made over the last 2 years in order to fit their own political narrative. Everything from the pandemic response to January 6th to holding President Trump accountable himself. We've even had colleagues here that believe that some of the January 6th insurrectionists were patriots and heroes. They're not. They're traitors. That's what those are. Those insurrectionists were traitors. So let's focus on unemployment insurance. The chairman and the majority of the Republicans voted 3 times in 2020 for UI benefit extension. 3 times. And that's a good thing, because it put money in the pockets of Americans who were struggling to make rent, to pay food, just to get by. But after a month of voting to extend those benefits, 1 month later, they voted to slash and to stop those unemployment benefits. What changed? Did they not know about some of the concerns of that program at that time? No. What changed was we had President Biden. My hunch is if it was President Trump, they probably would have voted to extend those benefits once again, but it wasn't. And why are they cherry picking this program and not focusing on other programs? So now let's talk about the Paycheck Protection Program. You know, as members, we voted to put the money in the pockets of constituents who need it the most, to keep their small business afloat. We voted to put money in their pockets, not members of Congress. We have colleagues from Georgia who had $183,504 forgiven. Other Republican members had up to $4.3 million forgiven. Why not focus on this program? That's because if they did, they would have to answer these questions regarding their own businesses, their own loans, and why were those forgiven and not others. So if we want to talk about handouts, we want to talk about fraud, let's talk about it. Let's not cherry pick programs. Let's pick all the programs that were in place during the pandemic. Let's talk about if we want to do oversight, let's do it. But this isn't about oversight. It's about passing the buck and making one too. So don't be fooled. The American people shouldn't be fooled by them trying to rewrite history and their role and responsibility and the implementation of those programs. I believe they were a good thing. Yes, no program is perfect, but it really did keep afloat the American economy, the American worker, and made sure that that we didn't fall into a deep, deep recession. So with that, let's focus, Inspector General, on the PRAC estimates on its website. That we spent it says the PRAC estimates on the website said that we spent roughly $653 billion in pandemic expanded unemployment. However, your website also points out less than a quarter of that could potentially be improper, and less than that was fraud. Can you speak to the fact that a substantial majority of funds did what they were intended to do and keep Americans out of poverty and save lives?
Certainly, Congressman. In all of the work we've done and the oversight work, no one has suggested or in any way sought to undermine the importance of these programs. We all can recall what was going on in March of 2020, April of 2020, and the need to assist and help people. The problem has been not that the programs were well-intentioned or valuable. The problem is we've seen substantial amounts of that money not going to the people it was intended to help because of the fraud. We have also had hearings and panels and programs about the scope of the identity fraud, such that, for example, we heard how in the unemployment insurance program, individuals who were intended beneficiaries, sometimes when they went to get benefits, were denied because the state agency thought they were the fraudster. not the person who came first, who was the actual fraudster. And so they struggled to just get the benefits they were entitled to. That's why these programs need to be fixed and addressed, because Congress meant the money to go to the people who really needed it. And that's where we should be putting our efforts.
Thank you. With that, I yield back.